How do artists embed layers of meaning in their materials and processes? Inheritance by Alisa Banks and Mycorrhizae by Jillian Sico both feature deeply rooted connections to people, soil, and the processes undertaken to make these books. Alisa Banks investigates connections to contemporary culture, her Creole heritage, and the African diaspora through the lenses of home, terrain, and the body. Incorporating materials and techniques used by her ancestors, she creates sculptural books that engage multiple senses. Encased in a box modeled after a portable writing desk, Inheritance speaks directly to how African American culture documents and maintains history through non-literary methods. A lovely smell gently wafts up as we open the box. It is spicy, redolent, and warming. A cotton-quilted square offers instructions to experience this work. Inside the writing desk, we find a book, a brush, and an inkwell. Banks pays close attention to the meaning and provenance of materials throughout every part of her process. The cover of this book is crocheted synthetic hair. The text speaks to the intergenerational importance of Hair Day, a custom in many Black homes in the US, Africa, and the diaspora. Coming together to groom hair offers an opportunity to share history and traditions and bear culture. These words pass in and out of the paper, a part of the braid that runs the length of the book. The ink Banks used to draw this braid holds deep meaning. She created this ancestor ink from ingredients significant to her Louisiana roots. She ground soil collected from her ancestral home with walnut and acorn, which are common trees in the area. The ink also includes indigo, the first cash crop grown in the South, which directly led to an increase of enslaved Africans to cultivate and process it. A list at the end of the book identifies these materials and some of the ways they would have been used by her ancestors. Banks is interested in her ancestors' actions and intentionally adopts techniques they used in her own process. The brush in this writing desk is made with Banks's own hair, and the handle comes from a lily stem from her garden. Like quilting the fabric, cultivating her plants serves as a link to her ancestors who grew, harvested, and processed crops in farms and gardens. You might think it's time to dip this brush into the inkwell and begin writing, but this inkwell doesn't contain ink. Instead, it contains a fragrant pomade Banks made for hair. She explained to me, "My ancestors were denied access to reading and writing, but nevertheless maintained and passed on knowledge and family history. This was accomplished through oral history and material production, what they made, how they made it, and the meanings of the objects, as well as their actions." The pomade in the inkwell poignantly asserts the significant role of hair care rituals in maintaining the oral tradition throughout history, and particularly when Black people were forbidden to read and write. Inheritance engages our senses as we inhale the fragrance and feel the textures. It elicits deep appreciation for the traditional and non-written methods used by African American and other cultures to carry knowledge and history through ritual, body, and community. Jillian Sico creates artist books under the imprint Frog Song Press. Through handmade paper, artist books, and prints, she explores the visible and invisible layers of meaning embedded in natural systems and the human activities that relate to them. Mycorrhizae intertwines personal reflections on love and loss with scientific research. Mycorrhizae are symbiotic associations between plant roots and fungi that allow for nutrient and information exchange. Sico was inspired to make this artist book as she walked through the woods of the Cohutta Wilderness in Georgia and considered the underground network that we can't see. There is an informational pamphlet written by Katie Beidler, a doctoral candidate in ecology. It offers an overview of our current understanding of the relationship between mycorrhizal fungi and plant roots. For example, mycelial networks are the tiny threads from the fungal world that wrap around and bore into tree roots. When plants are connected to this network, they are able to share nutrients and resources across vast distances. We also learn how human activity is altering carbon and nitrogen in the environment. This directly affects the connections between plant roots and mycorrhizal fungi, which, in turn, impacts plant diversity and the benefits humans derive from forest ecosystems. The illustrations come from photos and scans of different poplar, oak, and maple tree roots associated with mycorrhizal fungi. Sico explained to me that one of her favorite parts of working on this book was examining tree root samples through a microscope and seeing the worlds of root and mycelium. A small piece of tree root collected from the Cohutta Wildlife Management Area is available for us to observe and acts as a physical reminder of the real fungi, plants, and soil that Sico focused on. She also embedded materials related to fungi and the Cohutta Wilderness in the paper that she made for Mycorrhizae. The papers for the informational pamphlet were made with water collected from a lake in the Cohutta Wildlife Management Area. Urban polypore mushrooms were also included in the cover paper. The covers for the second booklet are handmade from linen and flax. Further connecting process, place, and materials, Sico buried the raw linen fiber under a poplar tree near the Cohutta Wilderness. This process, common in papermaking until the 19th century, allows microorganisms and moisture to break down the fibers prior to beating. The gray areas of paper are tinted with charcoal Sico collected from a burned poplar tree. The accordion reveals a quiet forest with underground networks made visible. Two voices appear throughout the book. An italicized text represents the voice of Mycorrhizae. Sico's narrative explores her curiosity about the fungal network and how her own presence connects to the ecosystem. Watermarks embedded in the paper reflect the mycorrhizal networks under the soil surface. As the book progresses, she considers her own feelings of connection, gratitude, and love when intertwined with another person or place. Then she rises above the scale of the individual, comparing her connections to those between mycelium and plant roots. And then the paper and imagery quiets. Sico's words share separation and grief of a life ripped away. The silence holds space for both personal human relationships and her connection to the forest and nature. It is all interconnected, though. One day, we too will lie in the forest, and they will take us down and under. Mycorrhizae offers scientific, aesthetic, and emotional entry points for us to understand the deep connectivity in a forest ecosystem and our own relationship to it. The carefully selected materials and intentional processes used to make inheritance and Mycorrhizae illuminate the importance and beauty of the many forms of communication and preservation across people, culture, and nature.